Ladies and gentlemen, imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing you're about to leap into the unknown. What if I told you that the key to your greatest strength lies not in the crowd, not in the noise of constant company, but in the stillness of being alone? Being alone isn't a weakness, it's a power that most people never tap into because they fear solitude, mistake it for loneliness, or simply never give themselves the chance to embrace it. But what if the silence is where the magic happens? What if the true transformation begins when you stop waiting for others to push you and you start pushing yourself? In this journey of self-discovery, the loudest voices you'll ever hear will come from within. And the most powerful force you'll encounter is the one that exists when you stand alone. So ask yourself, are you ready to uncover the power that lies in your own solitude? Stay with me and let's explore how being alone can unlock the potential you never knew you had. Have you ever witnessed a lion hunt? When it's hungry, it doesn't stay with the pack. It moves away, alone, quietly stalking its prey. It remains patient, focused, because it understands that to succeed, it must avoid distractions. Now imagine if that lion were afraid of being alone. If it needed validation before it acted, what would happen? It would go hungry. The same principle applies to you. Many people wrongly equate being alone with weakness. They believe that if you're not surrounded by others or constantly socializing, something is wrong. This, however, is a misconception society often perpetuates. The truth is, solitude is where real strength is forged. Look at the most disciplined, successful individuals in the world. Do you think they became that way by always being in the company of others? No. They had to distance themselves, isolate, and spend time with their own thoughts. They used this time to sharpen their focus and build a solid foundation immune to external distractions. Most people find it difficult to be alone because it forces them to face reality. Without others to distract them or conversations to fill the silence, they are left with nothing but themselves, and that's when the power of solitude reveals itself. In that space, you come face to face with who you really are, without masks or pretensions. It's just you, your thoughts, and the truth. The truth, however, may be uncomfortable. You might realize that you're not as disciplined as you thought. You may uncover weaknesses you've been masking with distractions. But if you have the courage to confront those realities, you gain the power to change them. The greatest minds in history, leaders, visionaries, warriors, they all understood this. They knew that to lead others, they first had to master themselves. Before they could face the world, they had to face themselves in solitude and train their minds. That's how champions are made. In solitude, you gain control. You decide how to spend your time, set your own standards, and hold yourself accountable. And when you stick to that for long enough, something profound happens. You become unshakable. Your confidence no longer relies on external approval. Your discipline isn't dependent on motivation from others. Your strength doesn't hinge on the support of those around you. At that point, you become dangerous. A person who has trained alone, faced their weaknesses, and built their power in solitude doesn't need the world's permission to succeed. They simply do it. Silence makes many uncomfortable. People often drown it out with music, TV, social media, or endless conversations just to avoid being alone with their thoughts. But what they fail to realize is that silence is the breeding ground for success. The greatest ideas, the most powerful realizations, and the most crucial decisions come not in the midst of noise, but in moments of stillness. When you step away from the distractions, you can truly listen to yourself, to your instincts, and to the lessons life is offering. Most people don't take the time to do this. They're caught up in the external world, constantly reacting, moving from one thing to the next, never pausing to ask themselves, what do I really want? Where am I headed? Who am I becoming? Those who do take the time, who embrace silence rather than fear it, are different. They are clear, focused, and sharp. By mastering quiet, they gain an advantage over those who cannot function without constant noise. Athletes, warriors, leaders all understand the power of silence. Before a major move, a battle, or a game, what do? They find quiet, they block out distractions, and they focus. In silence, they cultivate something that noise can never offer: control over their mind, emotions, and reactions. They stop being manipulated by distractions and start leading themselves with purpose. This is the difference between the great and the average. The average person is addicted to stimulation. They cannot sit still, they cannot focus, and they constantly need something vying for their attention. But the greats, they train in silence. They use it to think, strategize, and plan. When they finally enter the world, they do so with a level of precision and power that others simply cannot match, because while everyone else was running from silence, they were sharpening themselves in it. Many fear being alone, believing solitude to be a sign of weakness or a punishment. But if you look at the most influential figures in history, those who changed the game, built empires, and reached heights most only dream of, they share one common trait. They embraced solitude. Because loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. Loneliness is the feeling of emptiness, as if something is missing. But solitude, that's where real strength is forged. That's where legends are made. Many people seek the company of others. They want to be liked, to fit in, and they believe that the more people they surround themselves with, the stronger they become. But the truth is, as you grow stronger, the fewer people you'll have around you, not because you push them away, but because most people aren't ready for the level you are reaching. Look at the top athletes, entrepreneurs, and warriors. Do you think they spend their days surrounded by others? No, they train alone. They think alone. They push themselves when no one is watching, when there's no applause. Because they know the real battle isn't out there, it's inside. It's the battle against self-doubt, fear, and weakness. And that battle is fought in silence. Most people avoid that battle. They stay in noise, surrounded by people, distractions, because they're afraid to face themselves. They don't want to sit in the quiet and confront their weaknesses, their excuses, their flaws. They would rather be entertained than transformed. But those who embrace solitude are the ones who grow. They level up, sharpen their minds, and build their discipline. They become unstoppable, not because they have a crowd cheering them on, but because they've learned to stand on their... If you always need people around you to feel strong, then you're not truly strong. Real strength comes from being alone and still being solid, from walking alone and still moving forward, from standing alone and remaining tall. Those who fear being alone stay average. But those who embrace solitude become something different, something rare, something powerful. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. And you don't build it while surrounded by distractions, noise, or the constant pull of the world around you. You build discipline in isolation. Most people don't have true discipline because they never put themselves in situations where they have to rely on it. They let the external world dictate their actions. They go to the gym when their friends do. They work hard when someone is watching. They stay consistent when there's a reward or recognition. But take all that away. Remove the audience, the competition, the pressure, and what happens? They fall apart. That's the difference between those who are truly disciplined and those who just appear disciplined. The disciplined don't need an audience, motivation, or anyone to hold their hand. They wake up and do what needs to be done because that's who they are. And the only way to become that person is by spending time alone, training yourself in silence, mastering your own mind without anyone pushing you. Look at the greatest warriors, leaders, and athletes. They didn't become disciplined because someone was always watching over them. They became disciplined in the hours no one saw, during early mornings, late nights, and moments when they could have slacked off, but chose not to. Discipline is built when no one is watching, when there's no applause, no validation, no instant rewards, when it's just you, your goals, and your commitment, even when it's hard. But most people can't do that. They rely on external forces to keep them accountable. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect situation, or the perfect motivation, and that's why they never reach their full potential. Discipline isn't about waiting. It's about showing up every single day, no matter how you feel, no matter who's watching, and no matter what's going on around you. If you can master that, if you can train yourself to be disciplined, even in solitude, you become untouchable. At that point, nothing controls you, not distractions, excuses, or outside forces. You move because you choose to move. Not everyone is meant to come with you, and that's one of the hardest truths to accept. Most people think success is about accumulating more money, more recognition, or more people in their corner. But real success, real growth, is about letting go of things, habits, and most importantly, people who hold you back. The higher you climb, the more weight you must shed. Think about a rocket. When it takes off, it doesn't carry everything with it. It lets go to reach its destination. The higher a rocket climbs, the more it sheds, because if it held on to everything, it would stay stuck, weighed down by things that were once necessary at the beginning. Now, think about your own life. Look at the people around you. Are they helping you rise, or are they keeping you grounded? Are they pushing you forward or making excuses for why you should remain the same? This is where most people get stuck. They fear separation, holding on to old friendships, old habits, and old environments because they fear being alone. They would rather stay comfortable than take the risk of growth. But comfort is the enemy of progress. If you refuse to separate, you will never rise. Greatness demands isolation. It demands that you pull away from the crowd, from distractions, and from people who don't share your vision, not because you think you're superior, but because you're following a different path, a higher calling. If others can't see that, can't match your discipline or grow alongside you, then they don't belong in the next chapter of your life. It's not personal, it's necessary. Elevation isn't just about skill, it's about mindset. And if you're constantly surrounded by people who don't think, move, or aspire like you, they will eventually pull you back down to their level. So ask yourself, who are you holding on to that's keeping you stuck? What habits are you refusing to let go of that are preventing you from reaching your potential? The truth is, if you want to elevate, you have to separate. And the sooner you accept that, the faster you will rise. If you can't stand being alone, you'll never be truly strong. Most people think strength comes from numbers, being surrounded by people, having someone to lean on. But true strength is built in solitude. It's forged in those moments when you have no one to turn to but yourself. Think about a warrior. A true warrior doesn't rely on the crowd. He doesn't need constant reassurance, validation, or company to feel strong. He trains alone, sharpens his mind alone, and prepares for battle alone. Because when the time comes to fight, he knows he can't depend on anyone else. He must stand on his own. That's how you should approach life. Most people fear being alone because they don't trust themselves. They don't trust their own mind's discipline or ability to push forward without someone else pushing them. And that's why they remain weak. They never give themselves the chance to develop true self-reliance. But those who embrace solitude become unbreakable. When you learn to be alone, you learn to take control of your life. You stop waiting for someone to tell you what to do. You stop relying on external motivation. You stop needing approval, applause, or attention to feel validated on your path. You move because you decide to move. You work because you choose to work. You grow because you demand it from yourself, not because anyone else is watching. When you reach that level, you realize something. You don't need the world. The world needs you. People follow those who don't follow the crowd. They respect those who don't crave validation. They are drawn to those who build their power in silence. But you can't get there if you're afraid of being alone. You can't get there if you constantly need noise, distractions, or people around to feel strong. Strength isn't given, it's earned through discipline, sacrifice, and solitude. So if you can't stand being alone, ask yourself, are you truly strong? Or have you just been leaning on others for so long that you've forgotten how to stand on your own? You have two choices. You can fear being alone, run from silence, and remain dependent on the noise, the validation, and the opinions of others. Or you can step into solitude, embrace the quiet, and build yourself into someone unshakable. The truth is, the world doesn't reward those who follow the crowd. It rewards those who can stand alone, who train in the dark, who sharpen their minds in silence, and who don't need permission to become great. So ask yourself now, are you ready to embrace your power? Are you ready to separate from the distractions, lock in and do the work when no one's watching? Are you ready to become the kind of person who doesn't need a crowd to succeed? If you are, it's time to move differently. Cut out the noise, step away from those who don't align with your vision, and build your discipline in the moments no one sees. Train your mind, body, and focus alone. And when you step back into the world, when others see what you've become, they won't even recognize you. Because being alone isn't a weakness, it's where your power begins. So the next time you find yourself alone, don't see it as a burden or something to avoid. See it as an opportunity to tap into a power that most people will never experience. The strength to stand tall, to move forward, and to succeed without needing anyone else's approval or support. True power isn't found in numbers or constant validation. It's found in the quiet moments when you are the only one standing in your own way. Embrace solitude because it's in those moments you'll discover a strength that can't be shaken, a focus that can't be distracted, and a discipline that can't be broken. So remember this, being alone isn't just being by yourself. It's the key to becoming the person you were always meant to be.